and good evening. How are you all feeling today? This evening, good day, yeah? Excited to be here? Yeah? Isn't this amazing? This is phenomenal. And the fact that you guys have taken out your evening on a Thursday night, and you could potentially be out, you are here and you are about to witness an incredible documentary. Now, I want to first start off by acknowledging the traditional lands that we stand in and on today. I want to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrung people as part of the Kulin Nations, and as a proud Wongatha Yamaji and Noongar Gidja woman from Wajak Noongar Budja, also known as Perth. I just acknowledge the ancestors, the elders, past and present. I also want to first begin by acknowledging those in the room who have been affected by stolen generations. Now, I do not know the trauma you have faced or the hurt that you have endured, but I thank you for honouring us with your presence here tonight. And may we take courage and strength from your stories so that we may continue to resist, heal, and empower ourselves as a people and as a nation. Now, they said that I only had 5 minutes, but I deliberately give an actress a stage. I deliberately didn't send them my notes about this speech. Now, the story from the stolen generations is not mythology or simple fabrication of past atrocities. As you will bear witness to tonight's documentary, our stories are real. They are painful and they hit home. Now, it is not just here in Victoria, but across the entire nation that has been affected by the oppressive and destructive policies and procedures surrounding Aboriginal Australia. My great-grandmother, Ivy Williams, was hunted down like a dog, thrown into the back of a paddy wagon and forced into the Magumba mission in Moore River Settlement. In 1915, A.O. Neville, now you may recognise this name from the film Rabbit Proof Fence. This film told the account of 3 women who escaped to go back home. And they came from the exact same mission that my great-grandmother was forced into. He had adopted and was appointed the Chief Protector for Aborigines, before he then became the Commissioner for Native Affairs. Now, the strong ideology held amongst the commissioners and governing bodies was that the full-blood Aboriginal was due for extinction. And to justify our inhumanity and inferiority to the Europeans, they categorised our blackness as subhuman. Language like nigger, primates, savages, vermin, blackies, darkies. These words were used to reiterate the racial hierarchy and superiority, releasing the dogs onto us and hunting us down like sport in what was known as nigger hunts. Now, you may feel uncomfortable with that word, but that's history. That's the truth. They made killing us a sport and the removal of our children with the intent to breed out the colour made it that much more easier. This kind of assimilation and history of eugenics is the same tactics and mentalities used by Nazi Germany. Think about that for a moment. Sadly, my great-grandmother did not make it back home. Sadly, it continued with her children. Now, my grandfather, the eldest of her children, was not taken. His sisters and 2 younger brothers were. My nana remembered sitting at the out-of-home care purely under the false guise that my great-grandmother was an unfit mother and she was mentally ill. And she remembered one day that my grandfather had come up through the stairs and she'd seen this beautiful, handsome Aboriginal man, and she cried when she found out that was her brother who had come to collect her and take her back home. Now she went back home to them old fellas, to my aunties and to them old girls, and they wailed and they cried and they said to her, "We was waiting for you to come home." It's hard because that's not far removed. It's hurtful. It affects us generationally. Since the former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd delivered the apology in Parliament, the number of children in out-of-home care has since doubled, and it is growing exponentially. Why? Why? This is indeed a complex issue, and one that the Honourable Linda Burney articulates so incredibly well in this documentary. But I want you to think about that for a minute. It is deeper than the false fabrications about our ability to parent and for the government to remove our children under the falsely justified premise that it is for our children's own good. It is for our children's protection. It is for our children's well-being. I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think is the driving intent behind the forced removal of our children? Can anybody answer? Beyond assimilation. Beyond control. It is simply to eradicate us. It is genocide. You remove the children and you remove some of the very fabric that holds culture and communities together. You then funnel drugs and alcohol into the communities, medicating the trauma and pain. And you set up ongoing divisive and oppressive systems in order to perpetuate a cycle of poverty with a poverty state of mind. That includes economical, financial, educational disempowerment. You then remove the ability for the children to remain connected to their culture, to their country, to their language, to their kinship systems, and to their cultural practices. What then does that do? You then have generations of Indigenous people removed from their natural ability to affirm their connection to country and connection to community. They are then indoctrinated into the dangerous thinking that they do not belong or they were not wanted. This is a deliberate strategy in its erasure of Aboriginality and in its denying Indigenous history, identity and belonging. If this were happening to white children in Australia, I guarantee you there would be a national and international outcry. This is about abuse of human rights. This is about resisting and challenging the systems, governments, states, and institutions to talk about change, to talk about human dignity, human resilience, Indigenous empowerment, and our connection to the human experience. Our government's complicity to the abuse and to the pressing need to stop the abuse is interconnected on a national and global scale. This is not, I really need to reiterate this is not about implicating a level of white guilt. This is about truth-telling. This is not about grounding oneself in a victimhood mentality. This is about the ongoing national shame regarding the inhumane treatment of Indigenous peoples. I keep saying, and I will say it until I'm old and grey and an annoying old grandma, that we are not your enemy. We are not your enemy. We are your brothers and we are your sisters, and we are connected to you and interconnected to you in more ways than you think. May we always seek to privilege and raise the voices of Indigenous Australia. And I hope that in your sitting, in your listening, and it will be contentious, it won't be comfortable, it won't be nice, it will hurt, it will be disconcerting, and you won't like it. In fact, you will probably debate it. You probably say that didn't happen. Get over it. This content and this subjects regarding our people and my people and your brothers and sisters is a human rights issue, is a human being issue. I hope that through this film and through the course of this festival, that you continue to work, evolve and grow in your human understanding, in your human love. And we all struggle through the difficulties of what that means to be human in this world. I'm going to leave you with a few words of my grandmother, very simple. Education is the golden key that unlocks many doors. I hope you sit with this film tonight. It made me cry, and it made me celebrate, not in the struggle, just in the struggle, but in the resilience and the resolve of us as Aboriginal people. Thank you.